You're listening to Protecting What Matters, a podcast by the Ohio Department of Commerce. Commerce is Ohio's chief regulator, and we play a vital role in keeping you safe by protecting your property, your money, and some of the products you use every day. This podcast is designed to bring awareness to important issues and help educate consumers and businesses. Join us as we chat with trusted industry experts focused on providing you with the tools you'll need to help you protect what matters most in your life.
And our inspectors go to the stores, do periodic inspections of, among other things, holiday toys. We find pillows, comforters, those sorts of things. We inspect to make sure that they have been properly sanitized, that they have the proper law label attached to them.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Protecting What Matters. You may know the Division of Industrial Compliance inspects construction projects and buildings around the state. But did you know it also ensures many of your kids' favorite toys are safe? Well, in this episode, we're going to fill you in on how the division ensures the safety of new and used stuffed toys and how you can make sure you are purchasing safe products. Joining me today is Rick Seleg, the Chief Bedding Inspector for the Division of Industrial Compliance's Bedding Section. Rick, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
To start things off, let's talk stuffed toys. Halloween is here, and believe it or not, the holiday season is just right around the corner. And as we know, that's a popular time for parents to buy their children some festive stuffed toys. Can you talk a little bit about how DIC's bedding section regulates stuffed toys?
Sure. So manufacturers of toys that have a filling content that want to have those products sold in Ohio, there's some things that they need to do with our office to make sure that they are able to do that. They need to submit an application along with a sample of their toy product. And what we do, once we get that, we enter the application information into our database, and then our scientists actually test the filling content of the toy that they submitted. So once the contents have been identified, the scientist then compares what the manufacturer told us was in the product versus what actually is in the product, and then from that point we validate the law label, so we can assure that what the consumer is seeing on the law label is actually in the product.
And that's all about safety, right? It's about what that material is.
Yeah, product safety. As a consumer, you want to know what you're purchasing. You might have a child that has allergies to some sort of fabric or material, filling material. If it's on the law label properly identified, then you can avoid buying that product. Likewise, if they have if they are fond of cotton and that's what they like to play with most because it's soft and cuddly, then you know that's 100% cotton in that product.
And not only do we regulate the new items, but secondhand items as well. And as many listeners know, thrifting is all the rage right now. And many people might turn to those secondhand stores to find some fun stuffed toys, especially holiday-specific ones, and may not want to spend full price on one just for the holidays. Can you talk a little bit about that process and how we regulate those secondhand items?
Sure. Our inspectors go to the secondhand dealers. Again, there's an application process for these folks as well. They submit the application. We enter the data into our database, and our inspectors go to the stores, do periodic inspections of, among other things, holiday toys. We find pillows, comforters, those sorts of things. We inspect to make sure that they have been properly sanitized, that they have the proper law label attached to them. And then we also check their back room to make sure that they are properly logging what they are sanitizing. And we actually check the sanitizer too to make sure it's the approved products by the state of Ohio. And
you do this for the Goodwills all the way down to the mom and pop secondhand stores, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Goodwills, rent-to-owns, mom and pops, the whole gamut. If they offer secondhand and we're aware of them, yes, we go to their stores and we introduce ourselves. We tell them why we're doing what we're doing, and we get them on board with the requirements.
Keeping toys as an example, say someone is out at their favorite secondhand store and they find let's say a stuffed jack-o'-lantern or a ghost that they want to pick up for their child this Halloween. how can they see that item has been sanitized, inspected, and is safe to take home for their child to play with?
So the primary thing that the consumer would look for is that yellow law label. It's a 3 by 5 inch yellow law label. It identifies the entity that they're at, and the date that they sanitized the product. And they're probably one of the more important things is their registration number with our office. So if all of that works is present when we go there, assuming that the company did their processes properly, they can assume that what they're purchasing has been properly sanitized, and they can purchase that with a little bit of peace of mind, knowing that their child can play with that item.
And not to get too in the weeds, I've been able to go out with you on some of these inspections. Those yellow stickers, once you know they're there, they kind of pop. They're easy to pick up but you can look past them if you don't know what you're looking for.
Right. So you're right. They're yellow for a reason. It's supposed to be a kind of an awareness thing for the consumer. Like, hey, this is an unusual law label. It doesn't look like one of the little white ones. What is it? So we invite people to read those. We want people to read those. And when our inspectors are with the merchants, we go over the reasons why it's kind of help them with their sales. They've got properly cleaned items, and we want them to be able to sell those things. And it's kind of, promotes that health, safety, sanitized type of, perception that's something that we want to promote.
Yeah. And it's almost a win-win for everybody, because
right.
The parents know they're getting a safe product. The stores are promoting a safe product. We're making sure. So it doesn't happen a lot in life, but it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
So when it comes to the bedding section, it's not just toys that we regulate, but bedding items as well. It's kind of right there in the name. So we're going to talk a little bit about that right after this quick break.
Thanks for listening to Protecting What Matters from the Ohio Department of Commerce. Commerce's Division of State Fire Marshal, located in Reynoldsburg, is the oldest established office of its kind in the United States. With a mission to safeguard the public, its property, and the environment from fire and related risks through education, regulation, investigation, and enforcement. It consists of 8 bureaus: administration, code enforcement, fire investigation, fire prevention, forensic laboratory, Ohio Fire Academy, underground storage tanks, and testing and regulation. For more information and details on the State Fire Marshal, visit our website at com.ohio.gov/fire.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Protecting What Matters. I'm Jared Clay, Public Information Officer for the Ohio Department of Commerce's Division of Industrial Compliance, and I'm joined by the division's Chief Bedding Inspector, Rick Seleg, and we're filling you in on how the state protects you in many ways you may not know about. Just like with toys, many people like to pick up a Halloween or holiday-themed pillow, blanket, or other bedding item. I mean, what better way to watch a scary movie marathon than with your favorite Halloween-themed blanket or pillow? So can you tell us a little bit about how we also regulate the safety of these items as well?
Right. So I mentioned the manufacturers of toys have to submit an application and a sample to our office. Well, the same applies for manufacturers of bedding items such as mattresses, pillows, cushions, quilts, that kind of thing, and upholstered furniture items. So your couches, ottomans, rocking chairs, things with a filling material, manufacturers of those products need to submit to our laboratory a sample of what it is that they want to be able to be sold in Ohio. We test that product, and just like with the toys, we validate the law label so the consumer has a very good expectation of what they are buying is actually what is in the product.
So we've been talking about holiday themed items just because it's the time of the year, but these toy and bedding inspections go year round, and a lot of people might think that's a huge undertaking. Can you talk a little bit about how that work goes within DIC in terms of year round inspections?
I agree with you. It is a huge undertaking. We do a huge variety of inspections. One of the most interesting ones that we do is the Ohio State Fair. And, we go to the vendor booths, the actual booths, and take a look at the products. Now, those deal mostly with toy items. So we see a ton of toys that are being offered at the various games, win this, win that, play this, do whatever. So we look at all those toys. Also at the Ohio State Fair in the big Bricker building, we did the inspections of there's some furniture vendors in there, there's some mattress vendors in there. We check to make sure these guys are properly registered with us. So that in and by itself is a pretty big endeavor, just covering the Ohio State Fair. But outside of that, we do go to the secondhand stores, resale shops. We go to the retail stores that offer traditional new stuff. And as you could expect, throughout Ohio, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of stores that offer these types of items. So it's a big undertaking. I'm proud of what we do and what my inspectors do. I think they do a heck of a lot more than meets the eye, and they should be commended for it. But these are just some of the things that we know that we need to do, and if we do it correctly, then we think that Ohio consumers are being protected and given a chance to be aware of what it is they're buying.
And going back to the toys we've been talking about, I think it's important we specify the kind of toys. It's not all toys, right? It's just the plush or stuffed.
Yeah, so hardline toys or hard plastic toys, for example, big wheels or whatnot, that don't have a filling material, we don't look at those. They don't fall under our regulations. Predominantly, we're looking at stuffed toys, your stuffed teddy bears, your Build-A-Bear, those types of things. But we're also looking at the non-conventional types of things. Let's say a baby's play mat, for example, where they're laying on something that has a filling material. It has an arc that goes across it that has 3 or 4 different toys that are dangling from it for the babies to play with. Those are type of items that we look at too. So it's a whole gamut worth of things. And one of the neat things about our job is, we're oftentimes seeing products that are going to be offered for sale in Ohio before they hit the retail stores. So we get to see them and like, oh, that's kind of a neat thing, or it's, whatever. But we do get to see them sometimes ahead of the general public, which is kind of a neat thing.
So as we start to wrap up this episode, you've said it before in the saying of all the things we regulate, it's like lay, sleep, recline. It's a broad spectrum, right?
Yeah, rest, lay, sleep, recline on, or play with. So it's huge. It can be, office furniture to daytime furniture to outside, furniture, toys of, tons of different varieties there, and your bedding items. There's hundreds and hundreds of different mattresses that are produced, different styles, different, models, sleep numbers, all different types. That all falls under our purview, and we do our best to get through all of them.
Yeah, we talked about the secondhand stores with the yellow tags. We were specifically talking about the stuffed toys, but that's the case for any of these items. If you want to buy a couch, a love seat, anything at one of these secondhand stores,
yeah,
the same goes for those.
Yeah,
right?
Correct. I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but yeah, if you are in a resale store and you see an ottoman or a chair that you really like and it has a cushion, it's filling material with it, you should also see a 3x5 yellow law label with the date sanitized and the entity that's responsible for it, along with their registration number.
Well, Rick, thanks so much for joining us. I think a lot of people are going to find this information valuable because I don't think a lot of people know about this side of commerce or even the state, how we regulate these things in an effort to keep them safe.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
As a reminder, as you're out shopping for your Halloween or holiday-themed stuffed toy or bedding item, you can do so with confidence, knowing they are safe to take home thanks to the work of DIC's bedding section. And one more reminder, as you're shopping at your favorite secondhand store, look for the yellow tag indicating it has been sanitized and is safe to take home. And stay tuned, because coming up, you're going to hear some important Halloween decoration safety information from the State Fire Marshal's office. Thanks for listening. It's your money. Come and claim it. The Ohio Department of Commerce Division of Unclaimed Funds is currently safeguarding more than $3 billion in unclaimed funds. So there's a good chance you or someone you know has money waiting to be claimed. Just head over to our website, unclaimedfunds.ohio.gov, to search your name, the name of a family member, or a loved one to see if you have an unclaimed fund.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Protecting What Matters. I'm your host, Andy Ellinger, and today we're going to discuss Halloween and fire safety. Joining me today is Assistant Chief Dale Schulte for the Division of State Fire Marshal's Fire Prevention Bureau. How are you doing today, Dale?
Hey, I'm doing well, Andy. Thank you.
Data from the U.S. Fire Administration shows an average of 9,200 fires were reported to fire departments in the United States over the 3-day period around Halloween each year, average. It may or may not be obvious what's causing this issue, so let's talk a little more about it. Let's start with the elephant-shaped candle in the room. The largest contributor to Halloween fires are candles. What should Ohio citizens know about candles and safer substitutions?
Well, decorations are the first thing to ignite, and roughly 800 reported home fires each year. More than 1/3 of these fires were started just by a candle. Okay, we should always use battery-operated candles or glow sticks when we're using our jack-o'-lanterns. When at all possible. If you use a real candle, we want to make sure that we're using extreme caution. Always make sure children are watched when the candles are lit, as well as when we're lighting candles inside jack-o'-lanterns, use a long fireplace-style matches or a utility lighter.
It's really those candles that unattended, I guess, are when the problems arise.
Correct. Unattended candles are what's going to cause most of the problems.
How can homeowners and renters throughout Ohio minimize fire risks when they're decorating either exteriors or even the interiors of their homes with their Halloween lights and props and things like that?
Well, we want to be sure to place the lit pumpkins well away from anything that can burn. Okay. We also want to put them far enough out of the walkways of trick-or-treaters, doorsteps, yards, things like that. We want to also remember to keep exits clear of decorations so nothing egg blocks our escape routes. Dried flowers, corn stalks, crepe paper, all that can catch fire very easily. We want to keep all the decorations away from open flames and any other heat sources, such as many that we don't even think about, like light bulbs or even heaters. Okay. When we use extension cords, be mindful that we're not overloading the circuits and use UL surge protectors when putting lawn items or decorations that require plugs.
We want Halloween to be a fun, spooky, good time for kids. Can we make trick-or-treating season safer with a few easy safety tips for them?
Absolutely. If your children are going out to Halloween parties at other people's homes, have them look for ways out of the home and plan what they would do in an emergency.
So this goes back to 2 ways out.
Correct.
Even when it's not in your own house.
Correct. Two ways out of any home or any structure.
What advice do you have for parents to ensure that their children's costumes and accessories are the fire-resistant, fire-safe kind?
Okay. Parents should ensure that their costumes, not only are made of fire-resistant materials, but also do not inhibit their ability to see. Okay. It should be easily removed in the case of emergency, and also should allow them to perform normal functions, such as if they have to crawl, out of a house or something like that in the event of a fire.
Are there specific safety measures people should take when using something like a fog machine or dry ice or other special effects during the Halloween season and the events that go on?
Yes, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, any special effects that use electricity should be plugged in adequately sized extension cords using surge protectors, and that all have been approved by the Underwriters Laboratory.
The State Fire Marshal's Ohio Fire Academy is the premier fire and emergency services training facility with a nationally recognized staff of instructors holding sacred its mission to ensure that everyone goes home. The Bureau provides fire service personnel and other allied professionals with training, education, and accredited courses that are consistent with national standards to improve the safety and proficiency of Ohio's fire service. For more information or to register for training, visit com.ohio.gov/OFA. That's com.ohio.gov/OFA.
We are back with Protecting What Matters. I'm your host, Andy Ellinger, and we have been discussing Halloween safety with Assistant Chief Dale Schulte for the Division of State Fire Marshal's Fire Prevention Bureau. What should people do if they encounter a fire emergency or suspect a fire hazard during Halloween festivities or when they're out trick-or-treating?
First and foremost, if there is a fire, get out of the structure, get out of the house, and meet at a meeting place. At that time, and only at that time, call 911, and so the fire department can come take care of that incident.
We're focusing on Halloween fire safety, touched on many things, but we should also touch on some other important fire prevention messages that are good year-round, not just during the Halloween season. First and foremost, we should touch on the topic of preventable fire deaths and what's causing these fatalities, namely the number one cause of preventable fire fatalities in Ohio. You want to talk about that, Dale?
Yes, the number one cause of fire fatalities is smoking. Okay, smoking is still leading the way. Going back over those a little bit deeper, smoking on oxygen is leading that. Smoking while tired or medicated ranks right up there, and then also discarding cigarettes or smoking materials into an unapproved container or someplace where they can catch fire.
And then what can people listening, what can they do to get these numbers down? What kind of actions can they take?
Well, if you're an oxygen user and you smoke, we want to make sure that you remove that oxygen, maybe even leave the room prior to smoking. We want to separate your smoking activity from the oxygen. Also, we just want to discourage the practice of smoking, while you're tired or medicated. We want to make sure that you're alert while you're performing that. And also, please just make sure you're discarding your cigarette materials into approved containers.
Well, right after Halloween, we have daylight saving time ending that first week of November. And we always think that's a great time to remind folks to check their smoke alarms, check their CO detectors. What can you say about that practice?
It is an excellent time. We recommend that if you're using the smoke alarms that have, the changeable battery, we want to make sure that we are changing that battery twice a year. And it just is a good time when the time changes, or change your clocks, change your batteries. There's several catchy slogans out there that remind us to do that. But even those smoke alarms that have the 10-year batteries, we want to make sure that we are still checking those. Should check them once a month just by pushing the button to make sure they're going to operate. It's also a good time to practice your escape plan. Yes, it's November. We always think of October as Fire Safety Month, but really every month is Fire Safety Month. It's a good time to practice our escape plan and just make sure that we know what to do in the event of a fire.
Is there anything else we should know about any of the things we talked about today, or did we miss anything?
One other thing I would like to mention is close before you doze. While you sleep, it's a good idea to sleep with your door closed. That's going to prevent that spread of smoke and fire throughout your structure, and also to make sure that we do have our smoke alarms on every level of our home and outside of our sleeping areas. The more notice we get, the better off we're going to be in the event of a fire.
All right. I'd like to thank Assistant Chief Dale Schulte from the State Fire Marshal's Fire Prevention Bureau for joining me today. Thank you very much for your time on this critically important issue.
Thank you, Andy.
Halloween is just around the corner, and with it comes associated fire risks. The Division of State Fire Marshal provides prevention resources to keep families safe this time of year. You'll find best practices in this latest episode and additional fire prevention resources at the State Fire Marshal's website, com.ohio.gov/fire. Just look for the Fire Prevention tab on the left side of that page. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you tune in again soon. Thank you for listening to Protecting What Matters from the Ohio Department of Commerce. We hope you'll check out this episode focusing on escape plans and the importance of knowing 2 ways out.
So we recommend, and it's kind of like a national standard, is having 2 ways out of every room of your house. Whether or not that's 2 doors, 1 window, 1 door, want to make sure that people can get out and get out safely. Along with being able to get out, and each room is having a meeting place so that when you do get out of your house, you do know where to go. The worst thing you can have is everybody doing like yard aerobics, going around the house trying to find each other, and somebody would go back in, and unfortunately, if that's the case, they might die. So we want to make sure we're trying to keep everybody safe.
For help making your own escape plan, Visit com.ohio.gov/fire.